Bertemu kembali. Mesyuarat insentif persidangan dan pameran atau rangkumannya MICE kini merupakan industri yang pesat membangun dengan keuntungan tinggi buat tuan rumah yang menganjurkan program di bawah MICE. Dan antara negeri yang pantas mempromosi industri MICE adalah Sarawak. Dan bersama kita di studio adalah Mike Cannon, pengarah urusan Biro Convention Sarawak untuk membincang usaha yang dijalankan. Well, hello Mike, it's a pleasure having you with us here today in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Well, okay Mike, let's just start off by looking at a brief overview of the MICE industry itself. How should we look at it? Is it a tourism industry as a whole, or is it actually a very important pillar supporting the tourism in Sarawak, Mike?
Okay, it's one of the pillars. We tend to call it visitation in the industry, but it is part of tourism. You've got two elements of tourism. You've got the holiday maker, which is one pillar. The buyer is coming for the holiday. And then you've got the other pillar, which is business events, the MICE industry, meetings, incentives, conventions and exhibitions. And they're coming, the buyer is choosing the destination on its ability to address the business of the event. So there are two definite pillars, and they intermingle, and especially when in the use of infrastructure.
And SCB actually started about in 2006, about 6 years ago, and I believe that the MICE industry is actually an industry with huge potential. So why is it that Sarawak is only looking at it 6 years ago and not earlier?
Okay, well, because Sarawak is evolving in industry and evolving in business per se. And about 8 or 9 years ago, the government of Sarawak recognised the fact that meetings are the answer to many solutions, and they bring solutions to business development. So the government decided that it needed to actually do two things. It needed to build a centre to house events, because events brought people to develop business in the country, in the state. So that was dealing with the tactical side, and they also decided they needed a bureau to do the promotional side. So you've got two elements: tactics on the convention centre side, looking after the events when they're won, and then on the promotional side, the bureau's role is specifically to position the destination for those wins and to go out and win the bids.
And then speaking of promotions and whatnot, I believe that the private sector and also local players are actually the major players in attracting a lot of MICE activities into Sarawak itself. So what is the engagement level like between SCB and also the local players in Sarawak, Mike?
Okay, the engagement level is vital. It's important that we work with infrastructure and industry. We're the matchmaker, so we bring the buyer to talk to the infrastructure and the products and services and put them together so that we make sure that the right products and services match the buyer's needs. And remember, they're coming for the business of the event, and we're there to actually position the country or the state as a destination for business events, and then bring these people together so they can work together. So it's a very specific role, and we work together with them very well indeed.
And what about the synergy between the Sarawak Tourism Board and SCB in ensuring that we are able to promote Sarawak as a great MICE destination?
Yeah, well, the synergy's there. The synergy is vital again, because tourism is always a benefit of any business event. And at the same time, even though the buying pattern is because of the business of the event, people are not going to come if there's not something to attract them and attract their partners and their spouses, and to revisit after they've seen what a beautiful part of the world it is after the event. So we work very closely with tourism, and in emerging markets like China, we work with them in the promotion and development.
So what are the odds or the possibilities that Malaysia will be able to make it as the top 10 destinations in the world, alongside destinations such as Hawaii or Berlin?
Yeah, we will definitely get there. Malaysia as a whole will certainly get there. It's already doing dynamically well as a place, as a destination, as a whole country. And Sarawak is going to get there. Remember, Sarawak is only 6 years old as a business event destination, but we're already doing better than some of the key destinations in the world that are really mature and really well established. So we're getting there. I'm not going to predict the date, but 20 years we'll be up there and doing extremely well. So a 2020 target to be dynamic is not impossible.
If we're looking at Sarawak, the state itself that it is now, how would the boom in the MICE industry would actually help elevate or help in terms of developing the infrastructure, for example, roads and ports, and infrastructure in the country itself?
Sure. Look, a business event or business events are not going to develop roads as much as, say, the timber industry are going to develop roads. But first of all, you've got a dynamic institution like the convention centre. You've got hotels that are being built, co-sponsored by government, sometimes the private sector. Okay, you need infrastructure around that. You need shops, service industries, you need new roads into. So with every bit of development of business events, there are increased services and products coming in and being produced by government or by the private sector. The private sector see the greatest opportunities as well. For example, cruise boats on rivers and transfer boats on rivers. The government have announced recently that there's going to be a transfer boat to get people from Kuching City to the Borneo Convention Centre. So that's development of infrastructure.
And Mike, very briefly, if you look at the competition itself within the Asia region itself,
Yes.
if you're looking at countries such as Singapore, neighbouring country itself, so Singapore is able to actually create that very sophisticated environment for business events and whatnot. So what does Sarawak has to offer in that sense?
An alternative and something to use with Singapore. For example, you have that sophistication you've talked about, the modern shopping and so forth, but then you can add the adventure element, which is Sarawak. Sarawak adds an adventure element, it adds a dynamic people, the gentle people of Sarawak, who have got the sophistication, but it's in their low-key, highly welcoming, genteel way, which is so completely different to the dynamics and the good dynamics of KL and Singapore. So you've got adventure meets business events, meets sophistication of KL and Singapore as destination. So we can work together with them, especially in satellite meetings and such like. Yeah.
So what would be MICE's target in terms of arrival of delegates and in their entourage for probably an annual target? If
An
you
annual
give me
target?
a figure.
Okay, so this year we're looking to win 45 bids. Now, those bids won't necessarily come in this year. We're looking 3, 10, 15 years out. But the target is to win at least 45 bids a year. So we've got a rolling effect and continuity. So we've always got that business flowing. Now, sometimes, depending on global economics, that will change. Sometimes we'll target 55. But at the moment, we're tending towards conservatism at 45 because of the global economic environment. Yeah.
So what about the pre and post conference options that SCB or the Tourism Board will be able to actually give these delegates and their entourages on their business trips here?
Okay, you've got Mulu Caves, you've got Miri with all its sophistication of good food, wonderful food and wonderful hospitality and tribal life. You've got the orangutans, you've got Bakau National Park, you've got the longhouses, you've got the cultural village. It is the best cultural village I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen an awful lot of them worldwide. So there is an enormous variety. The lovely thing is it's contained and it's very easy to get to. The infrastructure is sound in getting them to it. And it is new and it's really fresh, which is one of the dynamics of our marketing tools.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. And I believe this is also actually a good opportunity to prove to the other more preferred destinations that Sarawak has what it takes to be one of the most attractive MICE destinations, not only in Malaysia but also in the world as well. And again, it's a pleasure having
full
you.
Of adventure.
Exactly, I agree. And it's a pleasure having you with us here today. Dan dengan itu, Bisnes Awani akan berhenti rehat seketika, jangan ke mana-mana.
Thanks.